Hi everyone, it's Will. Now today's video is about seeking people's approval. 1, why we do it. 2, what is productive seeking of other people's advice versus what is unproductive seeking of other people's approval. And 3, how to move forward with more confidence without needing everyone's approval. And being completely honest, this is an area that I need to work on a good amount, which is why I'm talking about it, because this is just as much of a reminder to me as it can be for you. So before we go further, quick note, as someone who is 24 years old, I think one of the biggest challenges for a lot of people in this stage of life is trying to navigate everything on their own. And having people around you who push you to stay consistent, think bigger, and continue growing can make a huge difference, especially during periods of uncertainty or transition. And that is a big reason why communities like our mentorship school community can be so valuable. So if you're looking for more accountability, support, and a group focused on career growth, relationships, and personal development, you can check it out in my bio as well as in the description below. Now back to the topic. If you are someone who feels like you are constantly seeking other people's validation, the question becomes, well, why do we do it? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's human nature, but it helps to understand what is the root of seeking that validation. And I think one of the biggest reasons, and again, you can disagree or agree with this, but I think one of the reasons is certainty. When we go outside of ourselves and find that someone else agrees with our choices, we feel like we're making the right choice. And even if you look at it in terms of marketing, what has an incredible amount of influence when we are deciding whether to purchase something? Testimonials from people that we know and like. So we're presented with a bunch of different products and services, and by hearing from someone that we know and trust that they agree that this is a good product or service, we feel more comfortable going with that product or service. Obviously, it's a different example, but we are seeing that play out here when we seek other people's validation. We might have an idea or we want to pursue something, and by someone giving us the go-ahead, we are more confident in moving forward. For me, I think sometimes it also comes down to not trusting myself. There might be a sense of seeking this person's approval beforehand. Then I make the decision and it goes the wrong way. And then the person says, I told you so. So rather than, making the decision on my own, I'll seek the person's approval before making it so that I don't have to face them afterwards saying, I told you, you shouldn't have done that. Or why did you make that decision? So I'd rather, again, seek their validation beforehand. And another reason for me that I'm working towards improving is just the inner voice and the dialogue that I have in my head. And maybe this might be true for you as well, because it can be incredibly negative at times. And when you have a voice that is a lot of the time negative, you want to listen to anything but that voice when making a decision. Regardless of external circumstances, our mind, at least my mind, can start telling me things that aren't true. We become aware that we're telling ourselves false things. And for a moment, we try to stop doing it, but our unconscious programming goes right back to the negative thoughts again. So as I'm mulling over a decision that I need to make, I make the mistake of not separating the thoughts in my head from myself. And because of that, I begin to look outward, and maybe you feel the same way towards other people's perspectives because they might have a friendlier voice than whatever's going on in my head. Now, number 2, I also think it's important to recognize that sometimes seeking other people's opinions is valuable and beneficial, and other times it might be hurting us. And this, again, is just my own experience, so you can agree or disagree with it. When it comes to times that are unproductive when seeking approval, one area that I have stumbled in is when I seek too many people's perspectives. This is a danger zone because your mind wants to stack 15 people's perspectives so that you're given that complete certainty that what you're doing is the right thing. But what I've noticed is that no matter how many people I ask, there's always another person that I need to ask. And that's something that I have struggled with as well. And then our mind goes into analysis paralysis. Well, this person said this person said that. I don't know what is right. I don't know what is wrong. This is all so confusing. And then you might even seek even more people's opinions as a way to find that consistency. You start thinking, hopefully the next 5 people all have the same thing to say so that I can finally make a decision. And then you find yourself in the same predicament as before with 5 more perspectives that are completely different. At least this is what's happened for me. This is the danger zone because once I'm consumed with too much thinking, it becomes counterproductive. So you might find yourself in a place where you have the desire to seek 15 different people's opinions. And then you're asking, okay, well, how do you do something different? Ask yourself, who is it that has what I want? There would be so many times where I would seek advice from people who were in no way qualified to give me advice in a particular area. And when you're given bad advice and you decide to act on that advice, it might end up leading to bad results. So being able to truly discern, does this person have what I want, and go from there is key. And it doesn't need to be the same person for every situation that comes up. Someone might be better to speak to about financial advice. Another person might be better for relationship advice, navigating fitness, whatever it might be. But I do think, it is important to be able to seek other people's advice and counsel and things, because there are people that have a lot of knowledge in areas that we might not. So I think being able to seek out two people who have what you want and just focus on those perspectives can be a lot less overwhelming than seeking out 15 people, because I've done it. So now that we can tell when this is unproductive, what are some other tips to move forward? One of the things that I mentioned before about not trusting ourselves and not trusting the thoughts that come in is to be able to separate our thoughts from ourselves. Again, this is a reminder for me. I'm not great at this. All too often, nothing changes externally, and then a thought comes up that hasn't been with me for 5 days, and now I'm spiraling again. But part of it is because I don't separate thoughts from myself. And I think meditation helps with that. I think the more we can recognize that the thoughts aren't us, the more we can begin to trust ourselves, because we no longer associate with the negative voice that is getting to us. And as a result, we can start looking at ourselves more positively, and we might be less likely to need the validation because our inner dialogue is in a better place. So another important lesson that I'm learning currently is the point of, and I'll leave you off with this, that there doesn't always need to be a right choice. In terms of doing the right and moral thing, there are definitely decisions that are right, and then there are other decisions that are wrong. But all too often we can get bogged down in, well, what is the best choice? And if we don't make that right choice, something bad will happen. And we can look at things in terms of black or white rather than looking in the gray. And I could go down this route too, and I will learn some lessons. So being able to say to yourself on that note, I can go down this route and I'll probably learn lessons here. I can go down this route and I'll probably learn lessons there. And this is something that still doesn't always make sense to me, but it's been helpful in allowing me to trust myself more. So as we wrap up this video, let's remember that seeking people's approval can come from wanting certainty and lacking trust in self. Unproductive seeking of validation comes from asking too many people for advice, which might lead to information overload. Productive way can come from asking a few people for advice because they might have perspectives that you might not have ever considered before. And lastly, being able to separate our thoughts from ourselves and recognizing that there might not always be one right choice, just differences in learning experience can help guide us. So if you're someone who struggles with seeking people's validation, I do too. But what's great is that there are solutions, and it might not happen immediately, but over time, you will begin to see the changes if you take the action steps. So as mentioned earlier, your 20s can feel exciting, confusing, and overwhelming, and uncertain all at the same time. And trying to navigate everything alone can make it even harder. So if you're looking for more accountability, support, and a group of people focused on growing in areas like career, relationships, and personal development, check out the mentorship school community built around the Kindling program in the description below, as well as in my bio. But thanks again for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time.